Welcome to the 2 Acre Homestead Podcast Shorts. During November and December 2022, we're presenting a shorter form of our podcast. So let's get started.
Welcome to the 2 Acre Homestead Podcast. We're your host, Lisa.
And Kevin.
And on today's episode, we're talking about Butchering Day.
Plus kids.
Yep, plus kids. So we're answering the question, should you let your children participate in Butchering Day? But before we get on to our main topic, let's find out what's been going on here on our homestead. So, Kevin, what have you been up to?
There's never a dull moment, is there? So
Never is.
Something I've been thinking about since at least the summer, painting the house, started that. So it's actually a great time to do that as long as you're within, I think we looked at the paint specs they were talking about between 40 and 90 degrees. So, have to wait a little bit because, lately we've been getting down to like 24 degrees or so is probably the coldest.
Yeah, I think so.
So this is a good time of year to do that, having a mild fall, going into winter, real good time for that. And starting to look real nice. Yeah. So, and then we're going to get ready to make some major changes on the homestead.
Oh, please do tell.
Do tell. We'll talk more in detail as those things come up. But some of what we're doing is we're going to be moving animals around. Part of it is for convenience, easier to feed them, water them, and so on. But we're also planning on potentially adding more animals. So, for example, we have female goats, but we want to be in control of when we're in milk. So we've been considering adding a male goat to the mix.
And a wether,
right? Because, they're pack animals. And so planning for that. And like I said, we'll share some more details.
I can't wait for the big move. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be exciting.
That's going to be super exciting. And then we're also on baby watch, because one of our does, Buttercup, one of our goats, she is so pregnant. I look at her and I'm like, you poor thing. She is so big and so round, and she's got multiples in there, and she's just big and round, and she looks absolutely miserable and looks like she's ready to have those kids. So we're also on baby watch. Yep. So that's super exciting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the house color is I'm absolutely loving it. So we've painted our house white with gray trim, and absolutely loving the color. It's nice. It's clean. Here where we live, because the sun is so strong, it's good at reflecting the rays and keeping the house cooler during the summer months, even though this part of Arizona feels like summer is a little bit shorter than other parts of Arizona.
It is. And it doesn't get as hot as some other cities, but it'll be nice if we can keep it cooler naturally, right? So
exactly.
That'll be good. And then what about the garden? You've been working a bit on that lately too.
Well, last week, of course, everybody was here. So we had a house full and had a great time. Love family traditions, everything. It was just really nice. So now that everybody's left, my attention now has turned towards the main garden. And last year, this past season, The weeds won. I lost. The weeds won. I mean, because we had so much rain from the monsoon. The weeds just, it felt like they were growing overnight. I mean, I know they were, but I mean, like, it was just insane how quickly they grew.
And weeds grow really well here, right? Sometimes better than some plants.
Well, that's everywhere, and they have their place, but it was out of control. So I decided to put down weed tarp. So all of the pathways are getting tarped with a weed barrier, and then we'll put down a mixture of gravel and what is that? Not tan bark, but wood chips.
Wood chips, yeah.
Wood chips that we can get for free. So we're going to be putting that everywhere. And then we're also building new garden beds, so garden boxes, or raised beds, I guess. Sorry. So we're putting in new raised beds and expanding the garden. And I'm deciding that I'm mostly going with raised beds instead of in ground. The only ones that are in ground are my perennials, and I've been moving. That's the other thing that I've been doing in the main garden is I've been moving perennials around. So I have one section that's dedicated to just perennials. So my perennials are strawberries, asparagus, artichokes are perennial here, blackberries, and then I'm preparing a bed for raspberries that will be here, and then my echinacea as well. But this is the time of year because we've had several weeks now of 20-degree weather at night. So this is the time of year to move your perennials around. And so, because they're all going dormant, so that's what I've been doing. So I've been a little busy.
Yeah. Not much time for kicking up the feet, right?
No, not at all.
What is it you say, eating bonbons?
Yeah, sitting on the couch eating bonbons. That's just never going to happen.
I don't even think I like bonbons.
Who eats bonbons?
Well, I don't know the French, right? Because doesn't it mean good goods?
No, bonbons are an actual candy.
Are they those?
It's like a chocolate candy.
I don't like bonbons. Anyway.
You've never had them. Anyway.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so let's get back on topic. But yeah, we were going to answer the question, should you involve your kids in butchering, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. So butchering day, I'll start out by saying this. Butchering day is never a fun day. I don't look to that day and say, oh, I just want to go out and kill some animals.
No,
right?
That's terrible. If you have that issue, you have problems, please seek mental health.
Right. Although you call me the harbinger of death.
I do, because you're the one who does all the dispatching.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I think the real question is, should you let your kids participate in butchering day? That's what we want to talk about. And I think you should. It's important, I think, for the kids to see and be part of the full cycle of where their food comes from. I think it's important for them to know how to process the animals.
Yeah. I mean, it's important for them to know where their food comes from. You don't want them, thinking that, I don't know, that chicken comes from
some big box store,
box store, and, ribs come from McDonald's.
Right.
You want them to really know where their food comes from. But at the same time, I also think it's important to let your kids participate to whatever extent they are comfortable participating in that day. I don't think it's fair as parents for us to say, you're going to do this and that's the end of that. Like you're forcing them to participate if they're not comfortable.
Okay. But, if they're raised around the culture of butchering animals, they should be okay. I mean, I'm not raising wussy boys.
Oh my, you just did not say that. Okay.
I know. Well, But for our kids, they don't even blink when we're processing animals. So to them, it's a different day. It's not strange to them. So again, answering that question, I think it's important for the kids to be a part of butchering animals.
Again, depending on their comfort. We have just boys. So I'm thinking if we had girls, they might be a little bit more sensitive to butcher day. Or, as kids age, our kids are at an age right now where they're going to participate no matter what, just because, they're pretty young.
Right.
But as they get older, they might be just a little bit more sensitive, or, it's good that they're around the culture of it and they know what's going on. But I don't think it's wise to force it on them as well. But I think the earlier you can expose your children to butchering day, so that, like you said, so that they know where their food is coming from, I think the less shocking, or it's not going to be as hard for them.
Right. You're not going to put a knife in their hand at, 3, 4. Right. But
right.
Like you said, the earlier that they're exposed to that and they're in the vicinity, they see it going on and so on, it's just going to be something that, this is what we do. This is part of what we do. Right.
Right.
On the homestead. And, they'll also be raised in a culture of producing food and then not being dependent on food that's produced for you.
Right. And that's really, I think that's really the most important thing, is teaching them to be producers and not consumers, teaching them to have control of their own food rather than being controlled by food. Because there's a difference. When you're the one who's processing your own food, when you're the one who's growing your own food, your children are sitting back and they're watching that. And they're seeing, what all is entailed in producing food. So your children, no matter what, are going to grow up with this deeper appreciation for food and food culture, and for agriculture than, a child who has zero exposure to that.
Right.
Like I'll give an example. Our children, they're so cute. I love our boys. They're so cute. They do not even blink when they see a cow. To them, just seeing a cow is like an everyday thing. And that's because both in our front yard, across the street from us, in front of our house, and behind our house, and then all the way around, even down the road from our house, there's cows everywhere. So they don't think twice to see a cow. We have goats on property. They don't think twice to see goats. But other kids, they come here or they come around this area, they go nuts to see, a cow, a goat, and all these animals. They go insane to see them. And our kids are just like, they just kind of look like,
yeah,
well,
okay.
This is, yeah, okay.
This
Whoop.
is our house.
Yay. This is, yay, a cow. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Anyway, so it's just based on, that culture, what you expose them to continuously, they get used to it.
They do. And I thought you brought out a good point too. You mentioned that, well, depending on what their comfort level is, you got to consider their age.
Mm-hmm.
But, our boys have been there when we've processed rabbits.
Mm-hmm.
And when we've processed chickens. Now, when we have the event, we'll call it, where we're, processing, dozens of chickens. Yeah, that's going to take a little longer. There's more equipment involved and so on. So a little more involved. Rabbits are easier. But we've noticed when we've done this that they don't really flinch. They're just around it. And, use your best judgment. If it's something that's a bit more involved, like what we did with chickens, if you have family that are helping or can help, kind of be there to watch, make sure they're, just be safe about things and so on. Of course, you want to do all that. But we've noticed that they've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
Just like you said with, there being cows around and,
Mm-hmm.
just us having animals on the property and so on in general, they're just used to it. It's like, oh, okay, this is what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
This is
They
our
go to other
lifestyle.
people's houses and they're like,
You don't have that?
you don't
Right.
have that? Yeah.
Yeah. No, some have, some kids grow up in society with little handheld video games or, now even younger ones with cell phones and everything. And they're always on devices, but we try to even limit screen time. Right. So,
Right.
it's good. And it's part of their development. So.
Right. Exactly. Well, I think we answered that question. So I think as parents, if you have a homestead and you are processing animals on your homestead, do not shield your children from it. But as parents, it's our responsibility to know your child, know what they can handle, what they can't handle. Be responsible with your children on processing day. Don't give them the knife, unless they're responsible. Know your children and parent them correctly on those days. And, we don't want to inflict emotional damage on our children, but we definitely want to teach and instruct our children as to where their food comes from.
And we're not, child professionals in the sense of, we're a doctor or a person who knows this, whatever your child's going through, right? Every child's different too. So, obviously you got to consider everything.
That's why you have to parent your child,
right?
Your children. You have to make that judgment call.
Okay. Well, that's it for us.
So be sure to tune in next time. We're going to be talking about record keeping on the homestead. So yes, this is not the most glamorous topic, the most glamorous thing or fun thing on a homestead, but it is something that is absolutely necessary, and that is keeping records of your gardens, keeping records of your animals, and a bunch of other things that we're going to enlighten you on that you may want to try to keep record of.
So from our family to yours, take care.
And happy homesteading. Bye.
Bye.